Hello, and welcome to both my test video and the introductory video to Crits on Dice, the School of Elements. With this, I just kind of intend to go over a lot of the sort of, in simple terms, the homebrewed aspects for people who may not be super accustomed to the way D&D functions, and for the people who are extremely accustomed to the way D&D functions. Primarily to just kind of offer a little bit of insight to understand the sort of method behind the madness. I will say there are a lot of systems that I am borrowing from, the most notably being Dimension 20's Fantasy High, including the stress system, which is essentially each of the students gets a chance to kind of choose where they want to allocate their free time when there's not like big primary story things going on. Although ours is a little tweaked to have a kind of different function to it, just because I was never a fan of the high increasing ACs. On top of that, everyone is playing a specialty class that is sort of a combination of wizard and sorcerer. Essentially being that they have a unlimited number of spells that they can have memorized, but a specific number that they can have prepared, which is, I believe, slightly larger than standard D&D spell slots, simply due to the fact that the primary method of dealing damage and harming people is going to be through spells rather than through martial means, considering it is a more modern setting. Things like swords, staves, and things like that are going to be significantly less common. Another thing that's being done a little bit differently is the leveling system, which is a whole can of worms, but essentially it is being done in a sort of tech tree style. Rather than using the standard D&D classes, their class is essentially chosen along with the element that they get to get to control, which includes sorcery origins, as well as the spells, the spell list that they have. You will notice there are a few people that have multiple abilities, and their spells are sorted on levels of 2. So essentially, from at first and second level, they will have access to first and second level spells of one element, and then 3 and 4 will have spells available from third and fourth, from not necessarily third and fourth, but essentially the next level of spells for whatever their second element might be. Which is, it's a little hard to explain in words, but it's a lot easier to see kind of on paper, essentially. What were some of the others? I've got a document here. I'm going to pull that up real quick. Here we go. I should have had this pulled up earlier. Okay. One of the other things we will be using later on down the line will be referred to as kinetic feedback, which is something that I really liked, the idea of being able to cast spells when your spell slots are still 0, at the cost of taking a certain amount of damage, and later on down the line having a other negative side effect that will be explained later. Which I thought was something that would be kind of cool, where if you were in a particularly tight spot, you could cast something extremely powerful despite the fact that you are out of spell slots, but you're not going to come out of it without a scratch. The other thing I wanted to change was the sort of inspiration system. I love the idea of bardic inspiration, but considering we are not using the standard D&D classes, that would normally have kind of all gone out the window. So I instead opted to do the exact same function as bardic inspiration, but is primarily based on your relationship with whichever NPC you are aiming it at, meaning that it can function as a negative for people you specifically dislike. Which I thought was something that would be very interesting, considering that a lot of the roleplay aspects are interacting with kind of the same NPCs that you normally do on a day-to-day basis. I think other than that, that is a lot of the sort of homebrewed stuff. Everything else functions relatively the same. We are pulling a lot of spells from... oh gosh, what was it? It was like the D&D 5e... SRD, that's what it was. The Systems Reference Document, which has a huge number of spells in it, which I do want to give a public thank you to one of my players, Cody, who went through and did the painstaking effort of sorting through every single spell, putting them into a element list, all on a massive Google Doc sheet, which I greatly appreciate. Let's see, what were some other things that I thought were important to bring up? The character art was all done. I was originally planning on not really doing any character art, but I kind of liked the idea of having sort of like the dating sim style like sprites, where it was just kind of the sort of like a bust figure. But I am not as skilled of an artist as I would like to think I am, and drawing that many sprites comes with a lot of work. So I actually opted to use sort of custom-made Stardew Valley sprites, which I felt was something where there was enough to be edited without having to be super detailed and have it still look good. It was kind of one of those things where it's like, with pixel art, it's a lot easier to kind of cut corners because it's not as detailed. But hopefully everything will be transcribed. That's the word. Good God. I'm terrible at coming up with words on top of my head. Everything will be transcribed so that everything will be readable, but it will be primarily an audio experience rather than a visual one, but I still wanted to put in a little bit of visual effort. Other than that, I think that's kind of primarily a lot of the important things. Aside from that, I just kind of, I hope that you guys enjoy the work that was put in here. My players have also put in a great amount of work, and I really hope that you all get to enjoy navigating the world that they are building themselves. And I did want to give, I completely forgot, I did want to give two more sort of little shout outs. The intro sequence that you will see at the beginning of each episode, I will say the backing track for it was acquired from a friend of mine who has his own band, and that was a song from the previous band he had, and he was very kind to let me use the audio without any issues or without any cost. So I will shout them out as I believe the name that their band goes by now is Viper Club, but they were originally known as Sunday at Noon. And I will say a huge shout out to Jack Vanderpool, who was a huge help with that. The other person I will say is one of the other players who drew these sort of little character art in that intro. Anne-Marie was a great help as well. So I just wanted to say that I'm not the only one putting in work here. They have also put in some work, and I am very appreciative of it. So yeah, with that, I will just say thank you for watching this little preliminary video, and we hope to see you around. Bye.